Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the wildfires that took place in Maui, Hawaii, and of course, President Joe Biden's response to the fires. So Joe Biden was asked the other day about the wildfires in Maui as they were ongoing. So there were actually two gaffes that went on during these wildfires, one of which just happened today. When I weighed in last week on his original Maui gaffe, I was planning on making a video about it at the time. So, Joe Biden getting asked about his comment on the Maui fires. About 100 people, unfortunately, died as a result of these wildfires. Hundreds of people still missing, by the way, could be up to the thousands. So there are some charred remains underneath those ruins. This could also be a similar situation that we saw with Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, where the initial death toll of the natural disaster was underestimated and underreported after it actually happened. We could be seeing something like this here in Maui. They may or may not have been the result of arson. In fact, I would assume and suspect that that's likely the case. We've seen this happen before. Every time that the legacy media and the politicians start rambling about climate change when there's a major fire, we then find out weeks, months, or even years later, hey, someone set this fire on purpose, so don't talk about it too much, and it later completely disappears from the headlines. Probably because they want to scare the public into giving up their SUV or their gas stove or something like that, thinking that that will change the world, when in actuality, there are other countries that pollute just as much, if not more, than what the US usually does. But regardless though, it is a humanitarian disaster. We're talking billions of dollars of damages, 100+ lives lost, possibly up into the thousands, and of course, they're going to be digging lives out of the rubble, probably for some time, which is unfortunate. Now, initially, when Joe Biden was asked about this, his reaction was literally no comment. Yes, that's all he said. It was just 2 words, and 2 words only. No comment. I'm not paraphrasing him, I'm actually quoting him. And he was smiling too when he weighed in on this. And this was taken as tone deaf. There's been a fairly major natural disaster in one of our 50 states. You're not willing to talk about it, even though it's basically a no-brainer just to say, well, I'm aware of what's been going on in Maui. I feel sorry for the people who are going through these wildfires. We're going to do everything that we can to assist with the situation. We're going to send aid. We're going to try to put everything out. We're going to be doing everything we can. Even if you're just being that normal, typical politician, so you don't even really care about what's going on, at least pretend to care. You're at least supposed to say something indicating that you care, and Joe Biden failed to do that. So just saying no comment while Maui is being engulfed in flames and people are losing their lives and their homes, that doesn't go over too well with the US public, and I expect that he'll lose quite a bit of support for them. However, I don't see this necessarily at the level of like a Katrina moment. After this latest gaffe, it's kind of, I guess, I would say closer to that, but it's still not at that level. It's not even at the same scale. The Maui fires, okay, major wildfire, some hundreds of buildings have been completely destroyed, or upwards of 1,000. There are deaths, about 100 people, possibly even more. There are several hundred people still unaccounted for, some of them, unfortunately, buried in the rubble, and several hundred others we still don't know the status of. Thankfully, in the end, for those others, they'll find that most of them are alive, by the way. They were able to escape by jumping into the ocean and were rescued by coast guards and whatnot, and simply have not returned to the area because they probably don't want to see the aftermath of what used to be home. And to be fair, can't really blame them, especially those without insurance. I hate to tell you this, but you're up shit's creek without a paddle and Joe ain't coming to help you. Thankfully, just by the power of being an independent commentator, I can use my audience to help you out by giving them this link, which I will leave in the description below and in a pinned comment, where you can donate relief to the Maui wildfires. It leads to the Tua Foundation, ran by Tua Tagovailoa himself, who is Hawaiian, so this is his community. And you can show your support to all of these people who have been negatively impacted by these fires. I advise you do so. It means a lot to these people right now. Lives lost, homes destroyed. I would also like to point out that some of those homes were considerably expensive beachfront homes, so if you didn't have fire insurance, you lost a lot, so it is a major thing. Every donation means a lot to these people, so links in the description and in a pinned comment. So this is a significant disaster that took place in Maui, but the scale is not the same as Hurricane Katrina now. Hurricane Katrina is not the only example that people are using. Some people, especially libtards and leftoids when you attack Biden on this, compare this to another incident that took place in Hurricane Maria, and Trump got similar attacks even though they were unjustified. Hurricane Katrina displaced internally tens of thousands of people and killed many more people. It was more like, hey, we've got like 50,000 people that are now homeless and an entire city has been effectively destroyed. And it just so happens to be one of the largest cities in the southern United States. And there's also damage throughout the entire state of Louisiana, not just New Orleans, damage in Biloxi, Mississippi, damage in Mobile, Alabama, and whatnot. And we've also got thousands dead. The death toll was much higher. The damage was much more widespread. It wasn't just New Orleans, it was the entire state of Louisiana, and it was also Mobile, Alabama, and Biloxi, Mississippi. A lot of these communities got fucked. Tens of thousands of people wandered around homeless for an extended period without any help coming their way. I can't exactly remember the final tally of damage was. I mean, I was 4 years old at the time it was happening, but I do vaguely remember seeing the impacts that Katrina made as it was actually happening. Hurricane Maria, on the other hand, was much worse. Katrina just had tens of thousands of people displaced and homeless. With Maria, that number was up to the hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of people were left homeless on the island of Puerto Rico. The death toll was much higher, even compared to Katrina, and the damage was just as widespread, even though most of the damage and problems were centered around Puerto Rico. A lot of the other Caribbean islands got fucked and affected by it too. In Puerto Rico, 4,000 people died as a result of Hurricane Maria. Nearly the entire island also lost power, and they had no electricity for about a month, and there really wasn't that much aid or relief coming to the island, and if there was, none of it was being used. The damage was so immense, the damage was so bad, and it affected the island so much. They weren't getting enough aid, they weren't getting enough resources, none of what they received were even used. The economy of Puerto Rico was affected by Hurricane Maria and still has a shit ton of debt to this day. The aftermath and the effects of Hurricane Maria were so bad, so much that people living on the island were forced to flee to the mainland, either to New York or nearby Florida. And these trends have been happening for quite some time now, well before Hurricane Maria. The hurricane just put gasoline on the already burning fire. And if you remember at the time Hurricane Maria happened, Trump was attacked for his response on Hurricane Maria, claiming that he is not doing enough, despite the fact that Trump was doing as much as he could to help the citizens of Puerto Rico. He's not doing anything, people are dying, he has to visit, he has to help out, send some aid, and the time he actually does visit, he gets attacked even more because all he did was give a bunch of people paper towels. He still showed his support, he showed his sympathy, and he gave people paper towels, which of course the legacy media said was not enough, basically comparing this response to Bush's response to Katrina, even though it was due to corruption in Puerto Rico's government that led to the response being lopsided. But neither of these two hurricanes are around the same level as Maui. Now, while these fires were going on, Joe Biden's initial response to Maui was more of like a Mike Pence style, it's not my concern sort of thing. You know, I'm too busy enjoying my vacation in Lake Tahoe or wherever he was. I'm too busy giving money to Ukraine. Ukraine is more important to me. I really don't give a fuck about these people in Hawaii. That was his initial response. Now, a week later, a week after the wildfires happened, the damage has already been done. Hundreds of people are already dead. Billions of dollars of damages have already been done. Joe Biden finally makes his way to Maui, and judging by the video of him arriving in Maui, it looks like the locals seem to have given him a nice, warm, friendly welcome and appreciate his arrival.
Here he comes after 13 days. Wow, he's finally here. Wow, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for nothing. Fuck you. Hey, right here. Hey, fuck you, Joe Biden. Fuck you.
Yes, as you saw there, the locals seem to be very enthused about Biden finally arriving after pretty much everything has been ripped to shreds by a wildfire. But in all seriousness, it's looking like the people of Maui aren't really too happy about Biden coming here after being ignored for a better part of a week while their island was being destroyed by a wildfire. I mean, this is not the first mass incident that Biden ignored. If you remember back in Ohio with the train derailment situation, Biden has yet to visit Ohio, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get the same welcome if he ever arrives in Ohio. Especially knowing that now it's a red state. And keep in mind, this is in Hawaii. Hawaii is a blue state and has been a blue state for quite some time now. So the fact that you are being jeered at by your own supporters in a blue state is telling you to fuck off, that's when you know you done fucked up. I mean, you were literally vacationing and sunbathing at a beach while Maui was on fire. And then once you arrived at the White House and you were asked about the Maui wildfires, you just respond with no comment. No fucking shit, those people are pissed off. It's no wonder people are literally jeering at you as you arrive in Maui. You basically just ignored these people for an entire week and respond to the situation by saying no comment, insinuating that it's not really your concern, caring more about sending aid to Ukraine. So much so that there was literally satirical jokes being made online for Hawaii to join Ukraine just so they can get funding. No wonder those people are pissed off at you. So once Biden arrives in Maui, he holds this gathering in a town on the island. The first thing he does is he sympathizes and empathizes with the people of Maui, which there is pretty much nothing wrong with, by the way. I think it's important to empathize with these people. But how he did it is what got people ticked off. Instead of saying, you know, we're sorry for what happened in Maui, we're going to be sending all our aid, sending all of our support over, we're going to help you guys out as much as we can. Instead of just saying that, he goes on this story where he talks about this small kitchen fire that he had some years ago, where he claims that he almost lost his 67 Corvette and his cat. Basically just milking the situation that he experienced and comparing it to what Maui went through, even though none of them are even remotely comparable. Now, I'm going to play you a clip of what Biden said during that speech, just to show you what he was saying and doing while he was at Maui.
I don't want to compare difficulties, but we have a little sense, Jill and I, what it's like to lose a home. Years ago, now 15 years ago, I was in Washington doing Meet the Press. It was a sunny Sunday, and lightning struck at home on a little lake that's outside of our home, not a lake, a big pond, and hit a wire and came up underneath our home into the heating ducts, the air conditioning duct. To make a long story short, I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat. But all kidding aside, I watched the firefighters, the way they responded. You know, there's an old expression. I grew up right across the street from a fire hall in Claymont, Delaware.
So apparently, almost losing your 67 Corvette and your cat over a small fire caused by a lightning strike is somehow just like the situation that happened in Maui. Now, for starters, you didn't almost lose your house from a lightning strike. Now, I'm not in any way denying the fire. The fire actually happened around like 15, 20 years ago, if I remember correctly. But the way you described the situation is pretty inaccurate. It was a small house fire that was caused by a lightning strike. that was able to be contained in like 15-20 minutes. You didn't necessarily almost lose your house. And what does almost losing your cat and almost losing your 67 Corvette has to do with anything? That's apples to oranges, bro. This is billions of dollars of damages. Hundreds of people are dead. Thousands of houses are destroyed, and you're bringing a small house fire and your 67 Corvette into the conversation, over-exaggerating the story and comparing it to the situation in Maui? That sounds pretty unethical. Yeah, I know your city almost completely burnt to the ground. I know how you feel. I almost lost my 67 Corvette and my cat from a small house fire. This response from Joe Biden so far is much worse than Trump's response in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. Not even close. I mean, you are literally vacationing in Lake Tahoe or somewhere, sitting on a beach while Maui was engulfed in flames. You were asked about your thoughts on what was going on in Maui. You respond with no comment. You are still taking all these vacations. The damage in Maui has already been done. You visit the island and it's already too late, and you're being heckled by the people there in a blue state nonetheless. And then you compare the situation to a kitchen fire you had where you supposedly almost lost your cat and 67 Corvette, over-exaggerating the situation. It's worse than Trump's Maria response by light years, but it's still not Katrina moment levels. I don't think we can really go there. This gets him a little bit closer to actually having a Katrina moment, but again, the differential is significantly different. And so while it's worse than the over-exaggerated, hey, Trump is not doing anything about Hurricane Maria. He says he's going to send out help, but he's just talking. He just visits the island a month later, and he's giving everyone paper towels instead of sending all this stuff and helping restore power on the island. He's not doing enough. He doesn't care about the people of Puerto Rico. He doesn't care about Puerto Rico. Even though the corrupt government didn't use any of the aid that was given to them. While it's worse than the Hurricane Maria response, it doesn't necessarily impact him as much, and it's not worse than, hey, Bush carpetbagged the head of FEMA, and then they waited like 2 fucking days to do anything for the people stuck on their roofs, and then the first thing they did when they went in was disarm a bunch of people instead of giving them food and whatnot. That was by far the worst response to deal with a natural disaster. All three of these situations are still very different, but I still think some of these gaffes are still going to hurt Biden in the long run. Each step that he makes with regards to something like this hurts him a little bit more. From East Palestine, Ohio, to Maui, Hawaii. The only thing really dulling the effect further is the fact that, like, do you think that MSNBC or CNN are going to talk about these gaffes? No, of course not. At times, it almost feels like that they're behaving like state mouthpieces. Depending on who's in office, you really do not see that much fact-checking going on. Very fascinating that they used to have, like, live tickers down on like CNN or MSNBC telling you, here are the 17 latest Trump lies of the week and things like that. Here's today's gaffe of the day. Here's today's Trump lie of the week. Trump had diarrhea. Orange man bad this. Orange man bad that. You don't really have that anymore. Very odd. You never really had that with Obama either. You never really had like a daily roundup of lies and gaffes that happened over the year. Or what has Orange Man done this time? By the way, they even did this with W all the time. Didn't really see that with Obama and Biden, but you certainly saw a lot of it with Trump and especially W. Every gaffe and stupid shit that he does always gets covered, and then they have like an in-year review of what Bush did over the years, including some of the stupid stuff that he says and the stupid gaffes that he did. And it happens so often that it has its own name. Bushisms. I noticed that Bidenisms is not necessarily a thing. Unless you watch Fox News, that is. But Fox News is legacy media propaganda too. Just on the conservative side of things. And not the good perks of conservatism. The bad perks. All the others, on the other hand, are trying to cover for him. Again, behaving like state mouthpieces. You're not going to see any of this with independent commentators, by the way, just so we are aware. So for this one, this, I think, is actually, if the legacy media were to pick this up and run with it, it'd be more damaging than his original no comment problem, or him sitting on the beach while the island is burning. him being seen laying on a lounge chair, sunbathing in the beach while wildfires are ongoing, and responding with no comment when asked about the Maui fires, that just looked like, hey, you're disinterested. It looks like you don't really care about the situation. Or they didn't, I guess, brief you yet. Or you don't even have a comment because you just don't have anything to say at the moment. I can think of a list of things that he should have said. If I was Joe, I'd cancel all my vacations immediately, I'd stop what I'm doing, and if I was asked by the press about Maui, I would just say, well, I feel sorry for the people in Maui. We're doing the best that we can, and we're going to look into readying all government agencies that might be applicable, and I will be arriving on the island momentarily to assess with the situation. That right there would be a good response. Saying no comment and vacationing on the beach was not a good response. And this other situation, on the other hand, was a worse response. Arriving at the island a week late, while the damage has already been done, people are jeering at you on the island, and then you go to this gathering and then you tell this whole story. Oh yeah, man, I totally know how you feel when your entire city burns to the ground. I had this kitchen fire once and I almost lost my cat and my 67 Corvette. Yeah, yeah, that's really connecting with the voters. Yeah, that's a good one, man. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description below, including my Twitter, where I'm the most active there. Plus, there will be some updates posted there as well. Share this video around with your friends, families, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies, whomever. Definitely helps me out a lot, helps the video grow, and helps grow the channel if you share this video all across with whomever you know. Don't forget to leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below, as I always end the conversation down to you at the end of every video. Also, don't forget to donate if you can to show your support to the people affected by these deadly wildfires, since this is a pretty serious and pretty deadly situation where a lot of people are negatively affected by. So your support means a lot to the community there. Link will be in the description as well as in a pinned comment. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.